Last week I did a video letting you know that Venice, Florida has some communities that were affected by the recent hurricanes in 2024. And those communities, due to the destruction and the 50% rule that FEMA has enacted, and if you're unfamiliar with what that is, basically it means that if there's more than 50% damage, based on value, perceived value of the property. So in other words, if you had a mobile home that was, or a house for that matter, that was worth $200,000 and there's more than $100,000 of damage done to the property, then they're going to call it a wash and they're going to say you can't repair, you have to replace. So what has happened in Venice, Florida, and what we talked about briefly in that video I put out a week or so ago, is that Venice is allowing a couple parks, and the trend is that more of them are going to allow this, which I think is a really good thing, but they're allowing people to apply for a permit to put up a tiny home instead of a manufactured home or a mobile home. I think that's fantastic because that's going to increase value, in my opinion, because tiny homes are just perceived to be a better bet for your money than a mobile home or a manufactured home would be, and for good reason, because they can be affixed to the land. They're stick built like a house would be, as opposed to something that's not considered real property. That's how we would term it. It's more considered personal property. Like, for example, when you buy a manufactured home, unless it's on land, if it's in a park of some sort, and there's a lot of yes, this, but not that. You have co-ops, you have parks, you have park rentals, you have land ownership. So there's a lot of different moving parts there. But generally speaking, a manufactured home, you're going to have to get registered at the DMV. That's really necessary when you buy it because it is not considered real property. It's considered personal property, almost like a car. So a tiny home is much more insurable than something like a manufactured home would be. So those are all right there alone good reasons. So let's jump into the website here and we're going to dive into what it says. This is through WFLA. Some of you are probably familiar with that news source. So storm victims can replace mobile homes with tiny or container homes in Venice. Will communities allow it? So because of the widespread damage, they discuss why they're allowing this. So since the storm, city officials say they have received 45 demolition permit requests for manufactured homes. Word is just now getting out that you can make application. A lot of people were unaware in Venice that you can make application to replace your manufactured or mobile home with a tiny home. So you're not seeing a ton of them right now, but the word is out. People are starting to realize you can do it. So let me give you the names of the communities that are allowing it right now. All right, so of the 45 permits that have been pulled for demolition, 26 of those permits have been pulled by residents of either Venice Bay Mobile Home Park or Harbor Lights, you know where that is, manufactured home community on the west side of Tamiami Trail, which is also known as 41, just north of Dockside Waterfront Grill and the Porto Vista Condominium Complex, to give you proximity. So the other 19 permits are in other Venice mobile home communities. All of those are asking to replace their manufactured homes with tiny homes, and they're allowing it. So Venice Bay, they have looked at this before. They've looked at this in the past because that's a high coastal hazard zone is what it would essentially be called. That floods a lot. So further examination of existing codes prompted a decision that tiny homes or container homes, which nobody's really doing, could replace homes damaged by hurricanes Helene and Milton within the current zoning. So you don't even have to do a rezone of any sort, providing those structures are allowed by specific HOAs. And they are. So a lot of people thought that they had to replace those homes with a manufactured home. So I know this is going to prompt the question, what about other places in the area? What about other parts of Sarasota County? So let's take a look at that. So in unincorporated Sarasota County, only mobile homes and travel trailers are permitted in residential manufactured home zoning districts, Sarasota County spokeswoman blah 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 has said. Tiny homes on a chassis are treated under the Unified Development Code, you see that as UDC, as a mobile home and would be permitted as well. A shipping container home or a tiny home on a permanent foundation would be treated as a modular home or a single family home. See, all of these little differentiating terms will determine how you get homeowners insurance and for how much. And that's why it is so important to understand it. Now, as the word gets out, I am starting to get calls in Northport because there's areas of Northport that were affected as well. And Northport does have some rules that will allow for the tiny homes. So Northport, I'm going to read from what they've got here. Both tiny homes and container homes are allowed in certain zoning districts in Northport. So don't assume just because you're not seeing them in your area that they're not allowed, because that's not the case. And I know that there are some districts that have been known to just say no out of hand because they don't know, but you really want to ask. If you ask for a variance, even if it isn't a variance, if you go in and you say, you know, I'm affected by this 50% rule. I've been told that my manufactured home is just a complete washout. So as you go down the path, make sure you're asking. Now, I will say that you will still have to abide by what is in the HOA rules and regulations. And then even on more of a macro level beyond that, some of the communities like Northport, Venice, Sarasota County as a whole, some of these communities are going to have rules where a house has to be a certain square footage. So don't let anybody just tell you out of hand that no, you can't do it, because what people are finding out is yes, actually they can do it. And I would say, especially in Venice, since it's becoming more popular and the word is out, hopefully people see this video. If you know anyone that lost their home in Venice, they lost their manufactured home and they can't renovate it, they're going to have to rebuild, share this video with them, because they should dig a little bit deeper, because more and more communities, and there's a decent amount of manufactured home communities in the Venice area. And again, I'm talking about Venice area. So think about Venice, Englewood, Nokomis, that entire area around there. Don't assume that you can't replace with a tiny home. Even though you don't see a lot of those communities, I bet you're going to see them start popping up, because people would prefer to have a tiny home structure as opposed to a manufactured home a lot of times. So as this rolls out more and more, and as more information comes forward, and I know that it will, I will definitely be here to share it on my channel.